Hi and welcome back to my next video. Today I'm going to be using some alcohol inks on Yupo paper to create some backgrounds for cards and also a do-it-yourself candle holder at the end, also using alcohol inks. So I'm starting here with some blue colors. I'm wearing gloves to protect my skin. Alcohol inks do stain pretty good, and I had somewhere to be later that day, so I wanted to make sure I didn't have bright colors all over my fingertips, but you can wear them or not. So if you're not familiar with alcohol inks, they don't really work well on porous surfaces like paper, but they work wonderfully on plastic, which is what Yupo paper is a plastic synthetic paper, or glass, or ceramics. They work really, really well on a slick, non-porous surface. It really helps the ink to move around. I'm just laying down some different shades of blue here because all the blues mix really well together. The more ink that you lay down, the more opaque it will get, and it will get thick in some areas as well. And you might not like that effect, so you can spread it out in different ways, or you can just keep adding it if you really like the way that kind of sticky barrier looks between the inks. I think they just give so many different cool effects, and so just get in there and play and see what you like. Some people like a smoother effect, some people like to have some texture. It's really up to you. The beautiful thing about this medium is that you could be doing the exact technique as someone else using the exact same colors, but you will never have the same exact finished product as someone else. Now, when you first start dropping color on, everything looks a little bit messy, and that's okay. Just keep playing around with it. I guarantee you're going to get something really cool looking in the end. At the end of this video, I'm going to kind of go in and zoom in on some of the backgrounds so you can see how the inks react a little bit better than this is showing right now, and how they look when they're dry. I also have a finished card with one of the backgrounds in the end as well. Now I had some white spots here, so I'm just taking a paintbrush and moving some of that ink around so I didn't have to come in and drop more ink until I wanted to. This medium is very forgiving, so if there's something you don't like, you can always go in and change it. And there's so many different ways to use it. I have not attempted all the different ways. You can do this just dropping of the ink, or you can take a paintbrush and paint with it and get more fine details. It's just such a fun medium. I have made some other alcohol ink backgrounds in another video, and I will link to that below in the description box just so you can see another way to use this awesome product. Alright, so I really like what I have going on with the blues here, and now I'm going to come in with this silver mixative. This is a product from Ranger that mixes in different metallic colors. This one's silver in particular, but you can do gold, rose gold, gunmetal, black pearl. There's all sorts of different ones that will mix really well with the alcohol inks and give just a different kind of shimmering effect to it. So I'm dropping it in here, and I decided that I want to put a little more blue, and I think that doesn't really have the effect I want, so I'm going to take my brush and kind of spread out some of that mixative through the rest of the background here. Now, if you are using a mixative, you want to make sure you shake it up really well. Most of the bottles will have a little like metal ball in them to help shake or mix it together, so make sure that it's mixed really well to get the best effect with it. And also, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry than the alcohol inks will. Normal alcohol ink will dry pretty quickly, but these do take a few more minutes. So that's our first background there. It might look like a hot mess to you, but I turn it into a card later and I actually think it looks really cool. I'm going to set that off to the side to dry, clean up my area, and come in for the next background. Now I did speed this up a little bit because I wanted the first one to kind of show you what was going on, but this one do a little bit different effect, but you can see what's happening. I lay down some color on my wax paper there just to kind of help keep the mess all in one place. And I swipe my Yupo paper through it, and that gives this kind of smooth effect while blending the colors. I did add in a gold mixative there to give a metallic sheen to the paper, and I decided I want to throw in a little bit darker green, so I'm putting that in. Each swipe is like, oh, do I like that? Do I not? Oh, let me go in with something else and see what kind of cool effect I can get. I wanted a little bit more gold in there. And now you have just a completely different look than you did from that first background. I'm trying to keep all the colors here too kind of the same, so I want to do a blue background, a green one, and this one I'm going to use some kind of pink tones. Now right here I'm blowing it with the straw, and you can see how well that ink moves across that Yupo paper. It's just another way to use this product and to see what kind of fun, kind of abstract image that you get from it. These colors are so fun. I just think they look so pretty together. I'll link to them below in the description box. Any products that I use, I usually will have a product list and links where you can go find them yourselves if you're interested in getting any of these fun tools. All right, so I really like what I have going on here. I'm just adding in color where I think it might need a little bit more, blowing it around. And you can see where I have some really light areas and where I have some darker ridges. And that's just where the ink has kind of formed this kind of barrier, and I like the way it looks. Some people may hate that, but I like that kind of dark edge between all the lightness. All right, so here is my bonus DIY project. This is a little glass candle holder or something that I got from the dollar store. Actually, I think I got this from a thrift store for $1, but you can find these at the Dollar Tree. They have all sorts of candle holders and vases for super cheap, and then you can decorate it yourself. So I decided that I want to use some blues and greens on this particular project. I'm taking it in and using my ink blending tool from Ranger. It has a Velcro bottom, so I just stuck a piece of felt that I cut off from a big sheet of felt there, and I'm just dropping in some color onto the felt. And then I'm going to use this pouncing technique that I've used in another video on some paper, but on the glass. It just gives this beautiful translucent look to the glass by adding some color, and you're taking this dollar piece of glass and turning it into something that looks like you might have spent some money on it. I think it's really fun. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit because you don't need to watch me pounce, especially not off camera, because apparently I'm not very good at keeping things in frame while I'm working. But I did want to talk about, let's look how messy my desk is. I've watched so many other videos where people have just this like clean, pristine desk, and I just can't seem to do that. All my stuff, my little work area just gets smaller and smaller and smaller because all my stuff surrounds me. This actually looks pretty clean compared to some projects that I do. But that's okay. You just get messy and then clean it up later, because how you work is how you work. And if you're creating, that's all that matters. So I'm still pouncing on the color here, adding it in where I want to. Each pounce gives it a different reaction, but I just keep pouncing until I get the effect that I want. All right, once that desired effect is achieved, I decided that it needs a little something to kind of finish it off. So I'm going to take some gold mixative and go around the edge of the glass. I think it just gives us a nice polished look and makes it look a little more luxurious and expensive than just a Dollar Tree candle holder. So I'm taking my ink blending tool and with the felt and just pouncing it on again. You could do this with this tool or with a paintbrush. I am going to flip it over once this edge is dry and paint the bottom of it. I think it definitely just kind of ties it all in together. One thing I do want to let you know is this is all alcohol based, and that's why I'm keeping it on the outside of this, because I do plan on using this with a candle. So as we know, alcohol is flammable, so we wouldn't want this on the inside of the glass. Now once that's dry, like I said, I'm going to flip it over, and I want to do a solid gold base on that. That way when you look down into it from above, it has a solid look on the bottom, but you will still see some of that green and blue on top of the gold. Eventually, I would like to take this project a step further and actually pour my own candle wax into it to form a candle with essential oils and, nice soy wax. But right now I don't have those products, so I'm just going to use this and drop a simple tea light inside, but both of them would look beautiful. I think this is just a fun way to take something cheap from the Dollar Tree and turn it into something beautiful that you'd want to sit out in your home or to give as a gift to someone. And it looks like you might have spent some money on it, but you made it yourself. And people are like, how did you do that? You're like, it's pretty simple, actually. And after your first initial investment, each making one of these would probably cost you less than $2. which is pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to show you some stills that I've taken of the finished product and kind of some zoom ins that I did on it. I also used this Krylon clear glaze spray on the outside of it to seal that alcohol ink in. So there we go. We have the finished product there with the gold rim. I'll zoom in here and you can kind of see how all the ink is sitting and blending on the glass. It's so pretty. I love it. There it is with the tea light in it, and you can see that kind of spray of the color in the background there. So we've got some of those other backgrounds I made on the Yupo paper. If you don't like just the full background, you could cut it down into strips and shapes. But sometimes I find just adding some more elements to the background makes it turn into something quite beautiful, like this next card. I added some alphabet die cuts from Honeybee stamps. These are the Be Bold dies. They look awesome on this card, and the blues just really, really pop behind all that silver. I love it. I actually gave this card to my boyfriend for his 40th birthday because he's old now like me. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much again for joining me for another video. I hope you learned something. I will link to all the products I use below in the description box, and I hope to see you again for the next video. Have a good week.